Welcome to more NOLO Wargaming action. It is I, your narrator, Big Fat, or, yeah, stuff. Anyway, like I said last time, my gaming group switched over to the 9th Age a few weeks back. This is the alpha version of the rule set. If you look at the website down below, you'll see a much different version. It's totally complete with army books and everything. Everything's updated. This patch itself is really just an upgrade to the magic system, a few special rules, and kind of a quick take off the top sort of thing for all of the armies. Like the Yeti's got a little bit cheaper, for instance, and the big names got revised. And not too much change in the vampire count side, if I remember correctly. Anyway, end of the game. My opponent is the Mighty Turkey Sub. As you can see, his army not particularly painted, and every time you look at the other pictures after this, you're going to tell it's even less painted than it looks now. I think he's trolling me at this point because every time we play, he lets me know that he's painted up an entirely new unit for his army, and then he shows me he painted a single Spirit Host, or maybe a Vargeist here or there. And I think he's only painted like 7 models since I first met him. And I think that translates into 3 units, 4 units or something. Anyway, let's move on to the game. So this is the left side of the table. Yes, his Vargeists are facing him and not me. Why are they doing that? Well, I do teach the people in my gaming group to cheat the frenzy rules a little bit. I used to put a dog or a unit of Noblar or something like that 21.5 inches away from the Vargeists and make them take that frenzy check that started turn 1 every single game. Well, I mean, I'd move them up that distance and make them take the frenzy checks all the time. And Leadership 7, you know, they weren't passing all of them, so he'd have to run off in a random direction, usually fail the charge or something. And it got to be pretty funny. I told him I was going to keep doing it as long as he kept facing the Vargeist in the wrong direction. So all of his Vargeists now face backwards at the start of the game. So here's the real nuts and bolts of the army right here. He's got two Necromancers. He's got 1 Vamp Lord with all the Blood Fury, all the additional attacks and the rerolls and additional attacks sort of thing. He's got a Thrall in there too, who I think is kitted out pretty similarly. Red Fury. It's really this army. He's got a whole bunch of casting. It's a level 4 Vamp Lord, so it's a lot of Nehek casting with the hitting power in those ghouls. Here's the right side of the table. He's got that unit of Knights behind the dogs. When I asked him about this, I mean, at the beginning of turn 1, why he did that, and he actually thought that he could move the Black Knights directly through the dogs, like Spirit Hosts, which I then told him Spirit Hosts couldn't do either. And so he thought that they could move straight through units, or his own units, like Hex Raids can move through enemy units. So that's why they're behind the dogs. My overall strategy is going to be to keep them in the backfield. Because it's definitely an opportunity if you can get some sort of weak unit right in front of those dogs. And there are the Spirit Hosts and the backwards facing Vargeists again. So here's my right side of the table. This is facing off against that really empty side of the half of the board, which is just Bulls, a couple units of Noblar. You'll see this in a lot of my armies when I do my drops. I kind of have a theme of where I drop things. Usually I drop 4 units of Noblar and 2 units of Bulls before I do anything else. And the whole purpose of that is I'm just trying to draw my opponent out. I typically have lots of drops in my armies, so if I can out-deploy them, it works out great because they don't have any idea where I'm putting my stuff. And the 2 units of Noblars and the Bulls are good flankers. The 2 units of Noblars just kind of get in the way so I can hold the center for a little bit longer. Here's the middle of the table. I've got 2 units of stupid Yetis, crazy monkeys. I've got Big Fat Thunder Tusk in the middle. He's there really just to give out that 6-inch always strike last bubble, which is really nice. I've got the Iron Gut Bunker with all of my characters in it outside of the super awesome Hunter. Just to remind you, he's got the +1 sword of +1 strength sword. He's got a 2+ armor save, and then he's got the Blood Greed special ability, the big name, which you can take in the alpha version of the 9th Age. which is great. I really like Bloodgreed. It was a lot of fun whenever I play against Minotaurs, so I figured I was going to take it on him. So he hasn't worked out so far, but I'm hoping at one of these games he's going to do great. All right, next side of the table. Left side looks just like the right side. Unit of flanking bulls, a couple units of Noblar, just meant to keep the stuff off the from anything on the flanks from crashing onto the center of my lines. And there's the vanguards. I just moved the hunter and the dog up. Like I said before, I'd like to keep those dogs right where they are. I'll split off the dog and throw them right in front of the dogs and hold it there if I can. And then hopefully I can just hold the line, hold the flanks long enough, keep those Black Knights back there, and I can have the Yetis and the Thundertusk just crash down on the ghouls. That's best case scenario for me, even though typically ghouls will just tear into the Yetis, or everything tears into the Yetis. It's a lot of strength 5 attacks from the Yetis. The -1 weapon skill will actually make a difference in this one. And the Thundertusks, always strike last, works really well with anything that you can get into units. And that strength 5 with the Yetis is no slouch. Alright, on to Magic. Like I said before, the 9th Age has some slightly different magical rules. The lore attributes for most lores are different. A lot of the spells are pretty close to the same. The lore of vampires is really the same lore. Not a lot of changes there. The lore attribute's the same. The lore of death, on the other hand, is definitely different. The lore attribute is pretty brutal, particularly if you're facing down armies with two wound characters. The Touch of the Reaper is the bottom spell, the base spell, and he defaulted to that one. And what it is it's actually, I think it's the Touch of the Reaper magic card from Ice Age, actually. I'm thinking that might actually be the card, or the exact spell from that old magic set. What it is it takes 1 wound from an opponent, and it gives 1 wound to you. I think it's got another ability attached to it, but that's the important one. And if you manage to cast that, you can pull the 1 wound off of them. But then you've got the lore attribute, which can also target a character within 12 inches that pulls another wound from them. So you could not, if you've got a character within 12 inches of this Necromancer, he can pull 2 wounds off of him in a turn just with his Touch of the Reaper. And I mean, Touch of the Reaper goes off on a 9+, so it's not super easy to cast, but I mean, that's not too difficult to cast. Spirit Leech is the exact same as it was, but it just makes these 2 spells that much more deadly if you're getting close to them. Granted, if you're far away, they have no effect whatsoever, but Lore of Death is meant to kill characters, and it kills characters. Like I said, Lore of Nehek is all the same. Venhel's, Gaze, Curse, it's all the same. Here's the Ogre Magic. I've been sticking with the Lore Beast for a while. I'll probably switch it up soon, but right now I'm having a lot of fun with it. Really, my favorite spell in Lore Beast is a new one. It's the Wolf Hunts. I love this spell. It's a fantastic spell. I actually think they watered it down slightly in the beta, which is a shame because it was so good. It gives +1 movement, and it gives Swift Stride, and it's a permanent effect. So I can cast it on the Thundertusk, and I can make the Thundertusk movement 7 and Swift Stride, and he can keep up with the Yetis. If you're not a long-time Ogre player, you probably haven't realized this too much, but the Ogre's big fighty monsters, the Thundertusk and the Stonehorn, don't have Swift Stride. And really, they're not good enough on their own to take on units. The Stonehorn can't attack in its first round of combat. It only does the impact hits. And the Thundertusk is just, it's got a few attacks, but it's not fantastic. It gets no impact hits. So when you get the Wolf Hunts, you can make sure those monsters keep up with units. Casting on the Thundertusk early game, I mean, he gets that movement 7. He's going to keep up with the Yetis after that. If I had Stonehorn, I think the Stonehorn's movement 7 already, so you can make him 8 and keep up with your Mournfang if you've got Mournfang. Anyway, Wisdom's Wild Form is the same. Curse of Honor here is the same. Transformation of Kadon, I talked about that last time, where it's kind of aspects of different things. They've got the aspect of the Hydra, aspect of the Chimera, aspect of the Manticore, aspect of Dragon. It's no longer where you replace the model with a large model. You keep them the same, and it would give like +2 attacks and regeneration, +3 strength, and 4+ scaly skin. +4 initiative, killing blow, +3 weapon skill, strength 4, flaming breath. That's the sort of thing. So it just grants a couple of extra abilities. Works a lot like the old Savage Beast of Horos worked. And the Butcher one, this Bone Crusher, and the good thing about that is it can boost the strength from strength 2 to strength 3, but otherwise it's the same spell. Oh, and the lore attribute for Lore Beasts, I can give one character or one model within 12 inches +1 strength or +1 attack, which is really nice if you want to start pumping up your characters. All right, I got to go first. I don't get to go first all that often, but this time I did. I actually think that that Turkey Sub outdropped me this game, which is very unusual in my gaming group. Some of the guys work hard to outdrop me on purpose, but most of the time I'm looking at 13, 14, 15 drops, and I usually outdeploy them pretty easily. So I really just rushed forward. I built this army to rush forward. It's fun. It's not the best rush forward army, but it's fun. The most important part is the right side. As you can see, that hunter and the dog. I said before the dog was just going to go in front of my opponent's dogs, and I think I can take a charge from them. I mean, I cause fear. I've got 3 attacks, weapon skill 4, strength 4. I should be able to kill 2 dire wolves right off the bat without any problem, and he might just do a wound to me. The hunter hopped in front of the zombies, just daring them to charge him. I'm probably overestimating his prowess right there. One thing I did not see, and I don't know why I didn't, I chalk it up to just me really wanting to use that hunter, as I wasn't paying attention to the dire wolves he vanguarded forward. They can clearly see the flank of the hunter. After I finished my turn, I saw it, and I was like, why would you do something so stupid? But I like the Blood Greed so much. I just want it to work. I just want to get him into the zombies where he can sit there and, churn and burn for the remainder of the game. Get up to 20 attacks or something. All right, there's a close-up of the hunter saying, hey to all the zombies. Hey, little guys. Bone Crusher, this is the spell he let me get off. I know why. He just didn't care that much. I thought it was pretty funny that I was going to use the Strength 3 version, and so I knocked off a bunch of the Black Knights in the back row. And also here, this was the Inner Wolf. Like I said, I love this spell particularly. Not Inner Wolf, the Wolf Hunts. If I can get this spell off early, it's great. I think I actually put the lore attribute on the Thunder Tusk this time. I'm pretty sure I'm within 12 inches, so I just gave him an extra attack. So the Thunder Tusk has 5 attacks right now. And this is probably from shooting. Something small. It's got to be from the Thunder Tusk, which didn't do anything at all. So, like I said before, I am an idiot. I just let that hunter get charged in the flank, and he's got the zombies at the front. There's no way he's going to be able to do enough damage to be able to hold here, much less actually keep his Blood Greed ability, even if he does hold, or take advantage of it. I mean, he's got a charge in the flank. That's +2 right there. He's got +3 combat. He's got +3 ranks, and he's got an extra banner. So he's got 6 combat res even before he strikes at me. I mean, it's probably a bad idea to begin with. He was up by 5 to begin with anyway. But wasn't thinking. A little too ambitious throwing that guy up there. He's just so cool looking and awesome. Anyway, on the other side, the dogs charge my dog, of which I think I'm going to win this combat. At the very least, what's going to happen is I'm just going to stay here. He's going to stay here. The Black Knights are going to stay there, which is the important one. The rest of his army just starts to move up. He's pretty cautious. You see the Vargeist flip forward. Not sure why he did that. Actually, I've got the bulls over there, and he's worried about it. I think the last game we played, I did a bull charge on the Vargeist, and I wiped him out. I don't think that that's going to happen too often. I mean, those Vargeists have a lot of Strength 5 attacks. But he's pretty cautious right now. There's the center. It's just moving up. And here on the other side, he's trying to bait those bulls and get rid of them. Joke's on him. I don't care very much about those bulls. They're just naked bulls. They're 90 points. They're just there. I use them as flankers, and more importantly, my opponent has to get rid of them. So he's going to put. He's got a Spirit Host. It looks like he's got 2 Spirit Hosts facing them and a Vargeist unit, which is a lot more than 90 points that I put on that flank. Yep, like I said, didn't go well for a super awesome hunter. killed a couple of dogs. He didn't do very much. He just knocked out a few dogs, and that was it. And there he is, just sitting there, all dead. Fortunately, over here, I knocked off 2 of the dire wolves. He didn't do any damage to me. That's it. It's just a push. He's stuck, and this area is blocked off. As you can see, he already moved Black Knights off to the side, though. But he's going to have to go through all the other crap over there. Ogre turn 2. All right, most important charge, obviously. The Gnoblar into a couple of dogs that he just left out there. And here's the actual most important charge. This is the one that I wanted. This is where I wanted all the Yetis to get in there. It's where I wanted the Thundertusk to get in there. I mean, the Vampire Lord is frightening. I think it can take out the hero. But on the bright side, he's not going to get his rerolls against me. Even though he's got the Always Strike first, he's going to be Always Strike last, which means he's striking at an initiative. He's going to get those extra attacks. He'll be able to do some damage, but it's not going to be the super amounts of damage that you usually see those Vampire Lords do. I mean, he's not going to be dishing out the 8 to 10 wounds. And I get in with everything. You see the Thundertusk kind of crossed over with the Yetis. I don't remember. I think that was the only way I can maximize the number of models on my side. Looking okay on this thing so far. If I get stuck in, the zombies are going to hit the front of the Thundertusk, and over on the other side, the zombies are going to hit the front of the Yetis. So it all looks like it'll work out. Obviously, the Gnoblar made it in to fight those dogs. Very, very important combat. I don't know who's going to win here. It's 2 dogs, but that's just a unit of Gnoblar. So here's the other side. I didn't have a whole lot to do with the other unit of Gnoblar. They just kind of made way to look at the Spirit Host. The Bulls are kind of holding back. I might have even moved them back slightly after I moved them forward last turn. Not sure what this is showing. I guess it just moved the dog behind the Iron Guts. Oh, I moved the Iron Guts up so that if he charges with the zombies into that combat, I'll be able to wheel around the Yetis and smash into the zombies. Over here, Gnoblar just getting away at the Spirit Host. It looks like they are facing towards the Spirit Host here, and not the Gnoblar over here, and not the Bulls on the other side. So it's just a unit of Spirit Hosts and Vargheist that are facing off against that Bull unit. I definitely know that the Bulls move back too. Here are both Gorgers. They both popped on again, which is fantastic. I don't know. I've just had a crazy lucky streak with these Gorgers just popping up on turn 2. Usually they come on one at a time or in late games, but in the past few games I've played, it's been turn 2 for both of them in every game. So here's the magic phase. I knocked out a Wizen's Wild Form on the middle Yeti unit. I'm not sure why I chose them. I think I was trying to I really didn't have any good targets here. I know that he's Vampire Lord is I think he can attack both units. If not, then that's why I put the toughness 5. Wouldn't have mattered anyway because he's strength 7. I probably just chose one. That +1 strength, +1 attack is on the Thundertusk. Here's the combat down below. I think I just did 1 wound, and then he popped another wound as a result. So the dog is slowly winning combat against his rivals, the dead dogs. Yep, that's bloody combat right there. I lost 4 Yetis, which was a lot, but he lost like 20 ghouls or something like that, which is much worse. Unfortunately, well, there's still a lot of ghouls there, which is good. You know how the best way to kill vampires or Vampire Lords is not to kill them, but to murder the unit around them and force them to pop from combat res. I just have to make sure that I've got enough ghouls in there where I'll do enough damage to pop the whole unit. I also took out the Vampire Thrall before it even got the strike. It had, it wasn't always strike last because it didn't extend all the way down there from the Thundertusk, but it had a great weapon, so it was striking last. I just put a couple of Yetis on him, and they just ripped that vampire apart before he even got to strike. Yep, and the dogs won their combat against the other dogs. The Gnoblar won their combat against the dogs. Without the general, I'm not sure they would have won. Silly Gnoblar. Alright, so here's charge phase on my opponent's turn. He charged those Vargeist the Bulls. No big deal, I just fled. He charged both Spirit Hosts into that unit of Noblar up there. I stayed, probably because I just didn't care what was going to happen. I got my guys into combat. If he wants to commit Spirit Hosts to that middle combat, they're just going to pop from combat res. So over here was a mess. He needed to get the Spirit Host and Vargeists out of the way of the Black Knights. Originally, the Vargeists charged the Bulls, who fled. He then charged the Vargeists at the unit of Noblar over there. No, that's not how it went. The Vargeists are stuck charging the Bulls. They failed their redirect. The Black Knights are charging the unit of Noblar on the left, and the Spirit Hosts are charging the unit of Noblar on the right. So we measured this out, and he could barely get past the Vargeist if he rolled high enough. Or we thought if he rolled high enough. I mean, he had to roll a 6 on 1 of 3 dice to be able to get those Vargeists forward, because they were going to fail the charge regardless. But he needed to get that wheel, which meant the Spirit Hosts had to make it. They didn't have far to go, but they had to make it, and the Vargeists had to roll high. And he managed to do it. The Vargeists rolled like a 12 or something like that, and they easily got out of the way of the Black Knights. I should have fled with both these units and just said screw it, but for some reason I kept them there. And I let the Black Knights out of the backfield as a result. And that was just a stupid move on my part. So over here, I'm not sure what this one is showing. Oh, that's him showing the zombies. He did commit the zombies into the combats. This is going to create some weird situations in a bit, and you'll see it after the end of the combat. There's the Morghasts. I'm not sure whether these are the additional hand weapon ones or the halberd ones. I think it's the halberd ones, but I can't remember. It doesn't play a huge part in the game. And I had a choice between stopping a Van Hels or a large invocation. And he rolled low enough on the invocation that I thought, because he had the invocation, he's got Van Hels obviously. And he rolled the invocation first, and I didn't want him bringing back a ton of ghouls and then boosting those zombie units super big. In hindsight, I should have totally stopped the Van Hels first. Not because I cared about the ghouls, because I'm just going to wipe the floor with those ghouls before they even get to strike, because Thundertusk, it's the vampire gets his rerolls back. And I did not think about that at the time. I just spaced on it. All I was thinking about was making sure that ghoul unit was going to get destroyed first, and that was the only thing I had in my mind. And, yep, that was not a good idea. So here's the combat on the other side. The Black Knights really whiffed it, only killed 4 Noblar. But that's enough to drive the Noblar off. It doesn't take much to drive a Noblar off, but 4 casualties, that'll do it. The 2 ghost units, the one on the right stalled out. He only did a few wounds, and so he's stuck there fighting the Noblar, mostly because the Noblar are within 12 inches of my BSB in the general. Over here, they crumpled the first unit of Noblar, and they overran in the second one. Since Noblar don't panic each other, I wasn't too concerned about the panic checks, and he's just trying to clear out all of my chaff right now. Yeah, this is what it looks like at the end of the combat. Like I told you, here's the mess. We were 1 combat, now we're 3 combats. And this always creates wonky situations with combat res and everything, where it's got to be split up and all. It's just wonky. So the Vampire Lord went to town and murdered just a whole bunch of guys. I can't remember which side it came from. No, he murdered the Yeti unit that he's facing off against right now. What happened to the one on the right was he still had a few ghouls got to attack, and then the zombies took a big chunk out of him too. I did do some damage back because Yetis do great against zombies, because the -1 weapon skill brings them down to weapon skill 0, which means I auto-hit, which is a lot of fun. I killed off the Necromancer in the left. Big Fat took him out. On the right, I somehow whiffed, and I only did 1 wound to the Necromancer. So he's down to a 1 wound Necromancer and the Vampire Lord. If you remember, he started off with 4 wizards, down to a soon-to-be-dead wizard and that Vampire Lord. The worst thing about this is that I now have no way of killing that Vampire Lord. I don't know what I could possibly do because there's nothing unless he runs into the Iron Gut army, the Iron Gut unit. There's really no way for me to track him down. He's just going to murder these poor Yetis and do whatever he wants after that. So turn 3, it's ogre time. So the most important one, all of the charges. I'm just going to lay waste to these crappy zombie units that are in my way. The Gorgers are coming in the rear. That Iron Gut unit's going to plow forward. I even charged the dog into the flank for good measure. I'm sure there was a point to it. I don't know what it was. Oh, I must have killed... He must have killed his opponent's Lacer. That's why I did it, just because I could. Alright, that's them all making the charge. I didn't have far to go. There's the Gnoblar not rallying. Actually, I think nothing rallied this turn. That unit of Gnoblar didn't rally. The unit of the bulls on the right didn't rally, and the unit of bulls on the left didn't rally. Granted, I don't need these guys to do a ton. I expected at least one of the 3 to rally, though. So here's me whizzing. I cast Wild Form on the Thunder Tusk. It's not because Big Fat needed an extra +1 strength and toughness. It's because I wanted the riders to have +1 strength. That way the bulls are now strength 5 against the toughness 3 zombies, and they'll just need 3s and 2s to take them out. I don't know where I put the extra attack. I've got a die on the Wizzens, which means it's probably on the Thunder Tusk. So here's combat against the Gnoblar. The Gnoblar lose combat, and they stay. I mean, he only did 2 wounds with the Spirit Host. That is 1 wound per Spirit Host. They've got 4 attacks apiece. They've got 8 attacks total. I guess that's about average because it should hit 4 times. And then he should do 2 wounds. Actually, I think he's probably hitting on 3, so it throws it off. He should be doing an extra wound on there. And he also charged and stuff. But that 1 rank right there, that means I'm steadfast. And Gnoblar Leadership 5 is no problem when they're steadfast. Here's the other side. These Gnoblars aren't going anywhere. I don't think he even did any damage this turn. I'm just sitting there, laughing. So, yeah, this happened. Remember the zombies? They're not there anymore. Remember the Yetis? They're not there anymore. But instead, I've got this huge mess right here. Unfortunately, it's my opponent's turn, and he's going to get to decide where he wants to go, and there's not a whole lot I can do to stop him. So here's 3.5. He charged the Gnoblar and drove him off. Actually, he probably charged the bulls and drove them off the table, and then he charged the Gnoblar and drove them off the table. Either way, he got them both off the table right here, so they're both dead. And the Knights just failed their charge. This side, I fled with the dog to get away from the Mortarks. Not Mortarks, Morghasts. And I didn't go very far, and he just ran the dog down. He actually reforms to face the center there, too. Over here, he's charging that Gorger. That Gorger's already taken a couple of wounds. He's just going to lay waste to that Gorger. Even if I can stop Van Hel's, I mean, he only needs 3s and 2s. He's just going to obliterate the Gorger. There's him making the charge. Over here, it's combat time again. As you can see, there's not a lot of damage inflicted on the Gnoblar. He did no wounds. And the Gnoblar just said, hey, hung around. They don't have to take a break test, so they're good. This is after combat. This is 2 units of Spirit Host. Still no wounds. And the Gnoblar hold there too. Unfortunately for the Gnoblar, he's got Vargeist right there. It's not going to be pretty the following turn if I'm still there. But he wanted to make sure he had insurance to get rid of the Gnoblar because the Spirit Host's obviously not doing the job. And over here, like I said, he just laid waste that poor fat Gorger, and he just died. I love those Gorgers. I converted those guys from my Scrag army. I actually have 8 of them. 2 are Trolls. I think 3 are Skaven. 2 are normal Gorgers. I think 1 is a Minotaur, an old Mordheim Minotaur. They were a lot of fun to convert. All those extra heads from the Gorger box. So, all right, here's Ogre turn 4. This is when things start getting weird. So now my only real hope of getting that Vampire Lord is to shoot him to death with the Thunder Tusk. Not a lot I can do about that because the Thunder Tusk has just got the Chain Trap, it's got his little snowball, and it's got the the bolt thrower up top. He's in the woods, though, so the bolt thrower is going to need 5s. The chain trap, I think, is going to need 6s because it's long range. And in this one, I don't think I can even fire the snowball because he is inside of 12 inches of me. Over here, like I said, I'm just kind of moving around. Right now, I'm trying to pin down the Black Knights. There's nothing else in his army that I can pin down at this point. The Spirit Hosts are worth virtually no points, so it's not even worth me pinning them down. And everything else flies, or hovers, as the more, I guess everything is essentially fly. And there's that one vampire. So unless I start taking characters out and throwing them around, there's nothing I can do to pin down these guys. So it's really the Black Knights that I'm trying to go after now because they're the slowest unit. This must be the Wolf Hunts again. So now they're up to strength. They're movement 7 and they've got Swift Stride. Once again, fantastic because that's awesome. Yep. More Gnoblar on Spirit Host action. He kills an additional one here, and the Gnoblar just don't care. Over here, yeah, you see how many he killed? Not enough to break the Steadfast. The Gnoblar hold once again, and he's going to have to go on with the Vargheists now. What an epic fail by those Spirit Hosts. You can't do much worse than get held up by Gnoblar like this. So, the start of his turn, the first thing he does is declare this charge. There was much cursing and yelling at the Gnoblar that he had to do this. And he obviously makes it. I even made him roll that charge, by the way. So the Vargheists try to make a far charge off of these bulls. It actually wasn't that far. I think he's actually already moved the Vargheists in this picture. But he doesn't make it. And he's stuck out in the middle of the table. And that's easy points for me. Over here, the Morghast are lining up to get that Gorger in the backfield. He kind of screwed up where he put the Morghast right here. He was really worried that if I charged the Morghast with the Gorger, I don't really know why. After he was trying to position him so that I couldn't see him, he couldn't see me. I told him after this turn that the Gorger, even if he does win combat for a couple of turns, that eventually the Morghast are just going to take him out. They're just that much better. I mean, the Gorger is just, his thing is being unbreakable. He's got a bunch of attacks, but those Morghasts have either more attacks or a higher strength, but they both have better weapon skills. So they're just going to take that Gorger to task. So the Vampire Lord takes off out of the woods. He knows he has nothing to fear. I don't have any real offensive magic. The only thing I've got is the shooting from the Thundertusk. And I can either move the Thundertusk into the center of the table, where he can get picked off by a half dozen things, or I can keep hiding him behind the forest, or rotating him around the forest, where my shooting will always be at -1. Yep, more Gnoblar on Spirit Host action, and I'm still steadfast with a Leadership 9 rerollable, because my General and BSB are nearby, and they're steadfast. Yeah, things did not go quite so well for our little green friends on the other side of the table. The Spirit Host did not get to attack. The Vargheists killed them all right out with their attacks. My opponent was ecstatic. He wanted no part of the Spirit Host attacking. And so it worked out for him. I have a little death photo right there for them all. Yeah, they overran, hopped the Spirit Host, so now they're kind of in the middle of the table. The Spirit Host turned around, so they're facing the dog and the Thundertusk and all the stuff over there. That's actually very worrisome because the Thundertusk it's got no static combat res. If he charges a Spirit Host and a Thundertusk, I'm just going to lose by 1 for the charge. So here's me. I had super impact hits, and I'm going to run into these Vargheists, and it's going to be a bad day for the Vargheists. Over here, the bulls that fled from the Vargheist charge did not rally and ran off the table. And over here, like I said before, now I'm just kind of moving around this forest. I got one shot here, which actually I think I had further minuses because I had to put the dog in front of the vampire. He's actually, if I remember correctly, he's facing, I guess, up. If you're looking at this, if you see the sword's kind of facing off to the left, it's actually behind him where he's supposed to be facing. Anyway, I put the dog right there so that if he decided to charge him, he wouldn't be able to get straight to the Thundertusk. I always worry about people charging me when they've got their magic phase because they can always beef stuff up. and that was just to keep him from doing it. I don't mind doing the charging, but I like to know what sort of spells are up at the time. So here's me throwing another spell. I'm not quite sure what it was. It might have been the Wolf Hunts again, because I've got that card down. That typically means it's a spell that I don't have. I probably did it just to get an extra attack on somebody. And I destroyed the Vargheists. I actually think I took a bunch of wounds on one of my characters, probably on the BSB. That might have been... I think that's what happened. It was unexpected. I just failed a bunch of ward saves. So I reformed, and I kind of spread out a little bit. I didn't want him getting out of my line of sight, and I had to add an extra rank because those guys down there have... Wow, actually, I think he was marching with them. I don't think he could do that. Could only move the movement 9 because he's got the... no, I guess the movement he wasn't marching with. He was just moving the movement 9. He's got the +1 movement banner on him, so they can move a bit further than they would normal. Anyway, so here's his charges. He charges a Spirit Host at the dog. I wanted to make sure the vampire wasn't getting through, so I held there. Obviously, during my shooting phase, I didn't hurt the vampire. I wasn't going to, but it was some pot shots. Over here, he swings around. We talked about this for a little bit. I told him that he could either give me the Black Knights or give me the Vargheists. I was like, which one's more expensive? Because I'm going to get one of them. And he decided to feed me the Vargheists. I think that was the better move. Well, it's definitely the better move points-wise. But, I mean, that was the option that was left to him. Either he could chance a long charge. Actually, it's not even that long with Swift Stride, and I think movement 8 at this point. So it was definitely a good move to just feed the Vargheists to me. Here's the other side of the table where he's just hopping around now. He moves the Spirit Host to threaten the Thunder Tusk. He doesn't want me doing any more shooting at the Vampire Lord. And then the Morghast finally decide, hey, it's just a Gorger, and hop up on the hill right there. Yeah, that's more magic. I think that's rerolls. It's not going to go well for this dog. Not at all. I mean, I'm already down. I already need double ones automatically, so I think he just wants some kills. And he threw out a Gaze of Nagash or something like that, and he just pinged a wound off the Thunder Tusk. I don't care about any of that. So yeah, dog just dies. He got the rerolls, and he managed to make up for the fact he could do no wounds to Gnoblar. He can only wound dogs, apparently. So the last turn. It's all down to this. I obviously charge into the Vargheists. As you can see, those Gnoblar are still up there, not doing anything. Actually, oh, that's great. I must have wisdomed them last turn. Stuff this 4 Gnoblar. Anyway, I charged here. This is going to go bad. I got another super impact hit, which was great. I actually charged in. It wasn't because I wanted to charge in. It's because Gorgers are stupid, and they frenzied, and he said, hey, Morghast, you ain't that tough. Well, we'll see how that goes, Mr. Gorger. The Thunder Tusk just ran as far away as possible. Like I said before, I want nothing to do with those Spirit Hosts. I've seen Spirit Hosts take down Stegodons so many times back in the 7th and 6th edition periods when they had the unit strengths, and you just took a couple of them, and you had a higher unit. You took 3. You were higher unit strength than the Stegodon, and then you just waited for it to break from combat. And I didn't want that to happen here, so I just ran back. Here's me just blowing up the Vargheists. Like I said, it's no problem. And yep, that's his last combat. Just pathetic to the end. So that's how the table looks at the end of this. We actually didn't do anything for his turn 6 because obviously there was nothing for him to do. He wasn't going to chance the miscast, and we rolled out the Gnoblar against the Spirit Host again. He repeated a non-attack whatsoever. He did no hits whatsoever, so the Gnoblar remain in this game. So the results. As you can see, turns 4 through 6, I didn't have anything to do. All I really did was try to threaten the Black Knights is the only way I could get points, and he just ran around picking up points from me because he had nothing but flyers. So I did all my damage in turns 2 and 3, and it was him trying to catch up the rest of the time. He managed to get pretty far up to that 1127. If he managed to get the Thunder Tusk, he would have put it into a draw. but it's pretty tough to pin him down with the Spirit Host getting stuck on those Gnoblar. If the Spirit Host don't get stuck in the Gnoblar, he likely pins down the Thunder Tusk at some point, and maybe he breaks him from combat. Maybe he brings in the Vamplord. He really didn't want to bring the Vamplord in because the Always Strike Last. If he didn't get off the Van Hels's Dance Macabre, he was really worried that the Thunder Tusk would simply stomp him to death. And there's a certain amount of fact to that. I mean, I've got 4 attacks to strength 6 and 6 attacks to strength 4, and then a Thunder Stomp at strength 6. So he didn't want anything like that to happen. All right, so that's the end of the battle report. I hope you guys had fun. If you have any comments, leave them down below, and hit the subscribe button, do all the other stuff, and I'm out. Later.